I leave out a lot of the stuff that sucked and really wasn't good, and it was just the author fluffing himself. Midswatch, Ryan. This one, again, this is like the third post I've had basically dunking on the blue pill professor, but not my fault. He's the one that made garbage posts. So this is the one, Friend Dread, how my buddy's impending divorce improved my marriage. And it's simple format. Gonna go through his field report, gonna go over the Jack thing, then I'll follow it up with my thoughts on there. And hopefully you guys will learn a little bit of something. The lessons on this one: when you're running Dread, it's not about revenge fantasies. And you may have heard me before talk about how, depending on your frame, the same action can have wildly different consequences. And this is like a good example of that. Plus, it's got some, I'll warn you right now, if you got a big, strong value system of being good and nice in that, you're not going to like any of this. So you've been warned. So a post that is part lesson, part encouragement for the guys, and part revenge porn. This is a follow-up to my red pill post on prostitute game, where I described the effect on visiting a prostitute on the wife's sexual desire. Hint: screws him 3 ways from Sunday, the next day, and for weeks afterwards. We can only conclude that somehow women could smell fresh on your dick. Or as the great Patrice O'Neill puts it, you want to catch a fish, you gotta smell like fish. I gotta pause here. Because nobody's gonna wait for 10 minutes to hear that this is stupid. It's stupid. Look, this is the same as like a early Midswatch where we talk about cheating. Cheating provides an increase in the anxiety of your relationship without the increase on sexual market value that goes along with it. And ladies of the night are the same thing. Yes, you can go pay your however much it costs and go get dealt with, and I'm not here to judge. I don't care if you want to do that. But don't do that with the covert contract of, if I sleep with this girl, then my wife will be more attracted to me. At best, she'll be very neurotic about it, and you'll get a little bit of hysteric bonding at first. That'll last a couple weeks, and you may think you've solved everything. But all it does is kick the can down the road. As much as I want to say, yeah, it can solve your immediate problem, but it's not sustainable. You don't address any of your problems on the thing. But hey, again, you've been warned. So in this post, some friend's getting divorced. His wife couldn't stop listening to The Whisperers, which is actually a Dalrock article, which I might skim through at the end of this thing here, and trotted off to his own apartment in order to take another... sakes. Sorry, it's mostly just full of like, yeah, the cock carousel, her yacht-owning billionaire with his 9-inch cock and shit, like, bunch of bravado. So he tries to talk sense into his soon-to-be ex-wife. Her family tried, her friends tried, everybody tried. He sent letters professing his love and fidelity. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, it's all ridiculous. So the wife was moving on. Everybody filled her head with nonsense about, even though she's 35 with 3 kids, she's going to walk out and be just as good as when she was 23. A lot of marriages end up going this route, where the girl's got her head filled with something, and that's where The Whispers is. This is actually an old Dalrock post, which I pulled up. You know, and so we're doing like a recursive thing here. Dalrock, The Whispers. Women are hardwired to wonder if they aren't missing out on something. They find a better man? Do they have enough money? Do they have the right clothes and shoes? Are they being treated well by their husbands and their job? I think this fits neat within the concept of hypergamy, and it serves a biological purpose. But constantly wondering if what you have isn't enough isn't always a virtue. In the wrong context, which is modern life, it's a prescription for unhappiness. Not just their unhappiness, but for everybody. A sane culture would curb the dangerous parts of this tendency. It would caution women the danger of being never happy. Kind of the Brothers Grimm, the tale of the fisherman's wife does. But then again, we don't live in a sane culture, we live in a feminist culture. Feminism's founding motto is, I never get to have any fun. Instead of curbing the worst instincts of women, the culture amplifies them. Here's an experiment you can try on your own. Ask a 5-year-old, why did all of your friends get ice cream today and you didn't? Or why are all their toys better than yours? Find a bunch of toys they don't have, which look like they'd be really great to play with, then ask them why their parents don't love them enough to buy it for them. For best results, taunt them every day. Wake them up in the middle of the night, ask why their classmates get to sleep in a more comfortable bed than they do. Keeping up with the Joneses stuff, you get it. Now, Do this for 30 years and test to see if they're happy.
So the meme, they're very good. This is really, they've taken it.
True alpha.
Named Ryan Stone.
It says, ask Murphy about the article he wrote cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
If I wasn't prepared to literally impoverish his entire bloodline.
I am now concerned for my career.
And I still recommend clear up the cuck article.
You know what? Fuck you for bringing this up. Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
It is just...
That's great. That's you should.
Fuck you.
Sorry, apologies.
Just keep going, dude. One foot in front of the other. Before you know it, this will all be in the rearview mirror. Fuck you.
Of course they have every reason to be unhappy. Their entire life has been filled with the gaslighting to show that they should have better, they're missing out, and everybody else is having more fun than them. So our culture is like this, always whispering in women's ears that they deserve better, and mercilessly amplifying every potential doubt. We saw this with how Stella got her groove back, Eat, Pray, Love, hundreds of things out there. My wife's witnessed this throughout her life. From her devout Catholic maid of honor, who's still unmarried at 37, when helping my wife put on her wedding dress 1 hour before the wedding, prompting her to throw her out of the room. The wife's friend was like, what if you meet a better man in 2 weeks? Now from the girls in the 7th grade class she taught, asking the only other girl with a boyfriend why she hadn't spent more than $50 for her on her birthday, saved all the money on her birthday money to do so, why didn't he spend $100 on her if he really cared? The girl took the bait and was upset until my wife took her aside and talked it through. The whispering is endless by men and women. All right, yeah, more blah, 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 blah. So I'll skip the rest of that. The point is, women are always being whispered at for other women. There's better out there. What happens if this? What happens if this? It's a bunch of neuroticism. It's a bunch of nonsense. Some girls fall for it and then they think they have that fear of missing out. And this is where you get the cougar phenomenon. Girls thinking, now I'm 42. I can leave my man and I'm going to have a great time out there. Guys, fine, it's great. You could be in your 40s and get girls in your 20s still. That's fun. Girls in their 40s have a lot harder time and they end up getting really bitter and they start voting Democrat. You know the deal. So back to the professor's thing here. Oh, the reason I have to pause in these ones and they sound a little disjointed is because I'm skipping past a lot of him, like full of bravado about pussy juice and all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's not really helpful. And I would hate if there's like a clip of me somewhere in the future that's just sitting here talking about it. Like, would you explain yourself? I'm like, no. So anyways, buddy, prostitute, wife, older, thinks she's got something better. 3 months later, she's living alone in a single bedroom apartment. She comes over several times a day. She told his friend just yesterday that she would come back to him if he would do X, Y, and Z. And the husband laughed in her face. He couldn't stop laughing. She divorced me and now she's given me condition to come back? Like, whatever. But the part that kind of got him is that he was sleeping with a prostitute just before then. And then his ex-wife came over and slept with him right there. He didn't even have a chance to clean off. And he was kind of like, he thought it was weird, which I'm not even going to bother breaking that down. It's not too important. A lot of married guys have this, by the way. You'd be surprised how many guys end up having, they plate their ex-wives. It's so common. I actually put it into Praxeology Volume 2 as one of the outcomes of dread. I'm skipping a lot of his other stuff because it's so much bravado. It's just really that bad. But that was it. And then he tries to segue into Dread Game. So the gist of his post was, women are constantly being whispered into their ear about a fear of missing out. Here's an example of a family friend of mine whose wife thought she could do better, left, and ended up being miserable. He ended up sleeping with a lot of girls, slept with a prostitute. Ex-wife came over, started sleeping with him. He's like, I wonder if it's because she could smell the other girl on me, or maybe she's just lonely. Does it really matter? Doesn't really matter. There's some concepts here, but this isn't really helpful. But the reason I bring this whole thing up and like, what does this have to do with the red pill? It's because in the next part here with Jack. Just get over your Madonna-whore complex already, Professor. Thinking poorly about sexually promiscuous women makes no sense. Mostly because you end up bifurcating women into sluts and good girls. And this is why so many guys end up in sexless marriages. We met a good girl and thought she didn't put out early and that gave her some sort of virtue. but often it indicates a sex-negative attitude of a woman, conditioned that her sexuality needs to be rationed and is only deserving of a man's attention, which makes her the exact kind of woman that weaponizes sex as sexually restrained and unadventurous and will only enjoy sex when she would otherwise feel anxiety to not have sex. So if you don't particularly enjoy sex with women you don't like very much, then don't have sex with them. But you keep commenting about this and it comes across as a stupid amount of projection to me. It's like the post-coital thoughts you have are this. Why did you just let a man you didn't like that much have sex with you? What kind of whore does that? Now I think even less of you. But I suspect you'd even be more annoyed of these women that just gave you a peck on the cheek and said, thanks, but it's too soon for me to go back to your place. We just met. You'd think, great. I just spent 2 hours listening to some basic bitch talk about basic bitch shit, and now I'm not even going to get laid. This is a waste of time. Even worse, and I'm sure this is pretty far from your mind now, but worth considering, you meet a fun, interesting woman you could see yourself enjoying some longer-term companionship with, so you won't ask her back to your place because that seduction stuff's only for those whores you meet online. But really, you're worried that you'll think less of her if she actually goes for it. And you like her enough that you don't want to think less of her. But that locks you into this passive, beta male, supplicative approach, puts you in a friend zone. Enjoy those dates hiking and going to the museum, but do not be surprised when she said she's just not feeling it and there's no chemistry. The common thread here is that not sex, it's you spending time with basic bitches. So maybe do that less, and you won't need to worry too much about developing a taste for hate fucking. So my thoughts at the end of this one, yeah, it was one of those things you kind of saw a lot of the professor's posts coming in. It's the Madonna-whore complex. Like, guys do this all the time. Like, yes, I get it. Some women just have that fear of missing out. They're whispered into it. Absolutely. As a guy, you're just nonplussed by it. You can absolutely replace a girl. Absolutely. And so when that's done, you have a certain confidence about it. Like, dude, nobody is that stupid to leave me thinking they can do better. And the idea is you have to believe it. You've done the work in your own corner so that you believe it. Like, it's not even a pumping yourself up. You're like, of course. It's taken as a matter of fact, like gravity. At the same time, you have to devote a lot of your time to realizing that women are just women. And a lot of those things that you do involved you having a sex negative attitude towards other people, especially your wife. If you ever think, no, I don't want to try to sleep with her on the first date because she's special and I don't want to treat her like a whore. And then you wonder why on the second date she doesn't want to see you anymore. It's because there's no sexual chemistry there. Treated her like a best friend, and then she treated you like a best friend. And now you're friend zone and curious about what happens. A lot of guys do this in their marriage. So I hope the whole professor's thing about prostitute game and the girl and this and the whispers, it doesn't make sense to you, and it shouldn't because it's ridiculous. And I guess the lesson out of here is just to ignore the common wisdom about it. And even if you're all red-pilled and you know what you're doing, as soon as you hear a guy doing Madonna-whore complex stuff, projecting their anger about sexuality onto women and hyper-focusing on the whammon ain't shit aspect of it when they're past the anger phase, just realize it means they're probably not very helpful, probably projecting. Let's get your shit together. It's amazing how less concerned you are about abandonment from your women if you know you can replace her. Abundance, you know? I mean, it's not my most favorite episode.